Hi there, I'm Danny Sanssouci and this is Comics and Cosmetics. Today, we're going to talk about a few things you didn't know about the Scarlet Witch and Vision before you watched WandaVision, and why nerds like me are super excited for the future of the MCU. Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for coming to see me again. I get lonely and I need friends. For those who don't know, my name is Danny Sanssouci. This is Comics and Cosmetics, where I do my makeup inspired by whatever sci-fi, fantasy, superhero stuff that I just feel like talking about that day. This week, my daughter has suggested that we talk about her favorite show, WandaVision, which for you guys and the rest of the world, that means the relationship between the Scarlet Witch and the Vision. It is an incredibly complex, sometimes convoluted story that spans about 4 decades. I'm not kidding. It's a pretty crazy story. It's a very fascinating story, and it's frequently evolving. So pitter patter, let's get at her. Let's just dive right into it. The things that you probably didn't know before you started watching WandaVision, which is an amazing show. And after going back through all of my research over the last several days, I discovered they really did do an even more amazing job of blending several storylines into one TV show. Because there are so many different storylines, you really can't just pick one, because no matter what you do, you're gonna make somebody mad. So they did a really excellent job of blending all these different storylines into one. And I'd say the main ones they went with were Vision Quest by John Byrne, the Avengers West Coast, or West Coast Avengers. John Byrne did change it to Avengers West Coast, which kind of makes more sense. So you got like the Avengers, and you got the Avengers West Coast, and the Avengers Great Lakes, which is like the Avengers Midwest, which as a Midwestern girl, why would you go with Minnesota or Michigan? I'd go with St. Louis. I'm just saying. It's like, it's St. Louis, man. It's like the biggest, it's like our only real major metropolis in the Midwest. So, whatever. I don't make comic books. Probably should. But that's a topic for another time. Anyway, I'm going to try to make this shorter than the Wonder Woman video because, dear God, if you made it through that monstrosity, phenomenal. I need friends. And thank you to all the subscribers and likes and comments we got. That was just, made my heart happy. Those of you who do know, the Scarlet Witch was introduced in Marvel Comics in March of 1964, and she was created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. She joined the Avengers the following year, and then in October of 1968, I believe, we got the Vision. And he was created by Roy Thomas and John Buscema. Buscema. Now, a little bit about the Scarlet Witch that you probably didn't know about, aside from her batshit crazy relationship with the synthoid Vision, is that she wasn't the first Scarlet Witch. Her mother, Natalia Maximoff, was the first Scarlet Witch. So she was the child of Natalia Maximoff and Eric Lehnsherr, Magneto. Her and her twin brother, Quicksilver, Pietro Maximoff. And she was genetically enhanced by a guy who referred to himself as the High Evolutionary. He was this scientific and genetic mastermind that he was. Hey, what is that? Kidnapped and genetically enhanced by this guy who called himself the High Evolutionary. He was a scientist, a very smart man, who was given more knowledge of genetics, like superhuman knowledge of genetics and science by an inhuman. So she was a mutant, but then she was enhanced. It's this whole thing. So she had what they referred to as mutant hex powers with actual sorcery. And then, you know, her, which was the chaos and reality magic. And then her brother was Quicksilver. He was super, super fast. Pew, pew, pew. And then you have the Vision, who, according to comic canon, he was created by Ultron, which we know. He was created by Ultron using the body of the original Human Torch android. Let that one sit in for a second, okay? Human Torch android. His name was Jim Hammond. Okay, Human Torch android. And he was dead. He was gone. So Ultron used his body, which he was not using at the time, and the brain engrams or brain patterns of Simon Williams, the Wonder Man. And of course that was against his wishes because it was Ultron. He was a bad guy. So he creates the Vision, and the Vision is like stupid powerful. And in the comics, he didn't have the Mind Stone. There were no he didn't have Mind Stone powers. It was a sunstone in his forehead that he charged with solar energy. As I said, she had a twin brother named Pietro, Quicksilver. But he was not a super big fan of his sister's relationship with the synthezoid Vision. Imagine that. He didn't want her dating a robot. And meanwhile, you've got this guy, Immortus, whom if you've seen Loki, the Loki series, you know him as He Who Remains. So Immortus is one of the variants of Kang the Conqueror. He's the oldest one, who He Who Remains is kind of a mixture of. Immortus. And the Timekeepers had found Immortus because he lived like 7,000 years. They're like, hey, we need you to do me a favor. Like, we're going to give you this like 7,000 years, and that's going to be like your baby. Like, you're going to babysit this 7,000 years to just make sure everything goes the way it's supposed to. Okay? So they're like, hey, take the 7,000 years. We're going to have you babysit this. Sound good? Sound good. Okay. So he's watching this 7,000 years, and they're like, by the way, we need you to click on over to the Avengers and like binge watch Scarlet Witch. Like, go nuts, because one of these days she's gonna have kids, and we think they're gonna be just way too powerful. I mean, she's already super powerful. She's already super powerful because, FYI, at the moment she was born, like the moment she was born, the demon god Chthon, there's a lot of different ways to say it. I believe it's Chthon. He was defeated, and she was in the same place at the same time, and so she was touched by his demon magic. So she's like way too powerful. She's got chaos magic, reality warping magic, and that's not okay. So we're afraid that if she has kids, that they're gonna be even more powerful, and they're gonna like mess with the things we're trying to do, and even like come for us and cancel us. So we can't have that. So we need you to watch her, okay? And you know what? Just kill her. Just kill her. I think that would be cleaner, safer for everyone involved if she was just, you know, gone, dead. Mortis says, all right, I'll check it out. Seems like a good show. And he starts watching the Scarlet Witch and her relationship with Vision. And he's like, this is kind of sweet. I really ship them. I'm just gonna see what happens. I'm just gonna keep checking them out and see what happens. So he does. He starts doing little things to push them into that direction. Like he wants to give Vision confidence to feel comfortable to like ask her out and be with her and stuff. Because at this point, he's like, I'm just a robot. I'm just a synthezoid, and I don't deserve a real girl. I'm not a real boy. This isn't going to work out because I'm not good enough. I mean, we've all had that. I wish I had someone like, I mean, is that too much to ask for? To have an immortal time traveling guy just like tell me secretly that I'm doing great? That would be wonderful. Maybe I do, and I just don't know it. I am here. Yeah. And what glutton for punishment does this kind of thing? So he starts nudging him along to help boost Viz's confidence so that he would feel worthy to pursue her. And eventually he did, and asks Scarlet Witch, Wanda, to marry him. And she agrees. And Immortus himself officiates. It's a ceremony. Mantis is there. It's just beautiful. Everyone's not a dry eye in sight. So the two get hitched and decide to honeymoon and retire. Good old New Jersey. I'm gonna leave that there. They honeymooned in Jersey. Yeah. Well, Immortus is patting himself on the back like, you know what? Good job, me. Good job. She can't have babies with a robot. So I don't have to kill her, and she's not going to have these babies that are going to interfere with the timekeepers. All is well in the land of Immortus. Well, Immortus seriously underestimated Wanda. Like, he really underestimated her power, her desire to have a child, and to have this normal relationship with Vision. And Vision's like, I mean, I'd like to, sure, that'd be great, but I'm a synthezoid. I'm not a real boy. How am I supposed to do that? Well, Agatha Harkness, is battling with the Fantastic Four. She's like on the side of the Fantastic Four. Very hard to say if she's really a good guy or bad guy, because sometimes she's got good intentions, and other times we're like, okay. But she's helping the Fantastic Four, a couple members of the Fantastic Four, battle the devil of YouTube himself. Mephisto. He's everywhere. Well, right at the point that Franklin Richards, who, by the way, is so overpowered for the MCU, he's basically been like put to rest. Like, we can't have him in these books because he is too powerful. Like, it's too easy for him. So Franklin Richards, the child of Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, and Mr. Fantastic, Dr. Richards, Reed Richards, their son defeats Mephisto and splits his soul into 6 pieces, and scatters them. Well, at the same time, a very souped up and really wanting to be a mom, Wanda, Scarlet Witch, accidentally or doesn't realize it. She snatched 2 of those shards of his Mephisto soul and put them in her uterus in embryos and made babies with them. Like, and so she has 2 babies. She pops out these 2 kids that are actually shards of Mephisto's soul. And everyone's like, how'd you do that? You had a baby with the robot? How'd you do that? So she has Thomas, who is named for Phineas Thomas Horton, who is the man who built the original Human Torch android. And then they named William after Simon Williams, who is Wonder Man, who gave, you know, his brain patterns or make up Vision's brain patterns. And Mortis, who's still watching, is like, she had kids. She wasn't supposed to have kids with a robot. I didn't know she was that powerful. Oh my God. Oh my God. And he's like, I need to check on this Mephisto guy to see if he's okay, because what's gonna happen if the timekeepers find out? I'm like so screwed, because I was supposed to kill her to stop this from happening, and I got her married to a robot because I thought that she could have babies with a robot, but my bad. So one of Mephisto's soul shards absorbs his consciousness and survives. Now he's definitely not as powerful as he was before. He's now about 1/6 as powerful as he was before. But he concocts a plan. He is the devil, Bobby Boucher. He's the devil. So he's gonna come up with a plan, just what the devil does. And despite what Marvel tells us, he's everywhere, okay? They were trolling us with that. God love them. God love them. So he stumbles across this Hollywood actor that was just in a drunk driving accident. He comes across this guy, and he offers him a deal. Like, the guy lost his arm in the wreck, and he says, look. Hi, I'm Mephisto, aka Devil, and I want to offer you a deal. See, if you agree to serve me in my devil ways, I'll give you better arms. I'll help you out of this. I'll make sure you survive, and I'll give you new arms. And so this guy's like, you mean I will have no consequences for my poor life decisions? Well, shit, yeah, sign me up. So immediately, Mephisto gets him out of the car, restores him, and replaces both of his arms with demon arms. I was trying to prevent that with this rag. And they're like crazy demon arms. Like, so if you watched What If with Doctor Strange, when he was absorbing all those magical creatures from different universes and realities and what have you. By the way, his name was Martin Preston. He was an actor named Martin Preston. So he replaces Martin Preston's arms with these crazy demon arms and gives him some juice. And there we have Master Pandemonium. And he tricks this guy and says, hey bro, so fun fact, your soul has been split into several pieces, and you got to go track them all down. So once you track them down and return to me, I'll let you go. And so he's like, sweet, just point me in the right direction, and away I go. So he tricks him, And he doesn't realize that the soul shards that he's tracking down are actually Mephisto's and not his own. Off Master Pandemonium goes to try and get all these soul shards left. Meanwhile, the newly formed Vision fam decides, hey, let's move to LA. Yeah. So they move to LA and they join the West Coast Avengers. Well, Immortus sees this opportunity to correct his mistake. And he's like, I'm totally team Mephisto now. I'm going to help this guy because that's my out. That is my out. We got to get rid of these kids. And if Mephisto wants them because they're parts of his soul, then I'm going to help Mephisto. So his plan was, Immortus's plan, to help Mephisto was to weaken the bond between the Vision and the Scarlet Witch. Because if he weakened the bond between Vision and Scarlet Witch, then it would weaken the bond between her and the children, and they would, you know, could be reabsorbed back into Mephisto. And then he wouldn't get in trouble by the timekeepers. So he starts doing things like tapping some government agents on the shoulder and saying, hey, remember that time we found out that that Vision could, you know, hack all these really sensitive government agencies, and that he could totally just blow all your secrets and operations and take down the entire United States government, like, without even breaking a sweat. Remember that? Remember? What you gonna do with that info? So the government kidnaps Vision and dismantles him, like takes him apart. Sound familiar? So the government has dismantled him. They've wiped his mind and his personality, his brain patterns. But Hank Pym's like, hey, remember me? I used to be Ant-Man, but I'm actually still a genius. So I can put him back together. And they're like, oh, yay. That's awesome. Thanks, Hank. So Hank Pym puts him back together in a new body. But he doesn't have any of his brain engrams anymore. Meaning he has no personality. The brain patterns from Wonder Man, Simon Williams, gave him personality. And without that, he was just basically a straight up robot. So they ask Wonder Man, they're like, hey man, Vision was taken apart by the government and we put him back together, but he's super boring now. So can you help us out? And Wonder Man's like, no, now that he had a choice in the matter, because before it was just Ultron stealing his brain waves. He was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, oh, you dick. So Vision starts pulling away from Wanda and the kids, exactly what Immortus wanted. And people are starting to notice that Wanda's kids kind of disappear when she's asleep and not thinking about them. They just, I mean, talk about saving on childcare. That would be handy. Like, oh, no thanks, hold on. I can go to work now. But people start noticing, like, that's weird. Where do your kids go when you're unconscious and when you're not thinking about them? This gave Master Pandemonium an opportunity to snatch them babies up. And after Agatha shows up and talks her into calling forth the original Human Torch android, who shows up with the other soul shards of Mephisto. Master Pandemonium had like absorbed Billy and Tommy like with his demon arms. As soon as the Human Torch android shows up with the other 3 shards of Mephisto's soul, he just disappears. Like his black hole just implodes him. He just disappears because he had completed the task that Mephisto had set for him. You know, go find all those soul shards. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad. All the soul shards get reabsorbed into Mephisto, making him whole once more. However, the two pieces of his soul that were Billy and Tommy had been so transmuted by Wanda, like she was still connected to them, like 100%. And it was making Mephisto way too powerful. He could possibly control her and screw up all of reality for everyone. Agatha thinks fast and erases Wanda's memory of her children, like erases them entirely, which is very sad. This gives Agatha the opportunity she needs because it separated that bond from those two shards of Mephisto's soul with Wanda. And once she had separated that bond from them, it gave her the opportunity, because Mephisto was weakened, it gave her the opportunity to destroy him once more and scatter his soul. He scattered his soul. It put Wanda in a coma and knocked her out. At this time, Vision decides it's time to go back to the East Coast, because I mean, he doesn't have any emotional attachment to any of this anyway. He has no personality, so he goes back to the East Coast. And Wonder Man feels so bad for the whole situation. Like, look, dude, I am so sorry. I'll let you scan my brain now if you want. Like, would that make you happy? Would you like to scan my brain? And Vision's like, meh, I think I'm good. So he goes back to the East Coast. And even though Agatha had completely wiped, and I mean completely wiped, Wanda's brain of any memory of her children's, the trauma was still there. It was still there. Even though Wanda didn't know why she was so sad and angry and lonely and had all these feelings, the repercussions were still very real. So for a short period of time, she becomes a bad guy. She becomes a villain because she's angry. She's like super angry. And she even goes back to her dad, Magneto, and rejoins the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Well, Immortus is like, huh, so she's a Nexus being. That's interesting. Nexus being, meaning she's an anchor for all realities. Like, she's the same in all realities. She's just as important in this reality as she is every reality. That ability gives you power, and he saw an opportunity to use that. So he kidnaps Wanda and takes her to Limbo. And everyone's like, oh no. She's with Immortus now in Limbo, and she's super mad and super OP. So what do we do? Well, they were kicking some ideas around, and Agatha was like, shit, they're gonna kill this girl. They're gonna kill her. Which Agatha is technically dead at this point. Wanda had absorbed her power. And so she kind of astral projects into Limbo because she can do those things. She's like a couple 1,000-year-old witch, if not older. She goes into Limbo and she's like, Wanda, listen, Linda, listen. The Avengers are coming, dude. They're coming and they're not happy. You made a huge mess. I need you to get it together. Even though Agatha had erased her memory of her children, and I told you like the trauma was still there, well, the memories start popping up. And it did help that some people are like, hey, didn't you have kids? Like, where are those kids? Kids. starts echoing in her mind, and she like, this is very important, but this is before limbo, okay? So I should have told you this a minute ago. So she starts remembering that she had kids, and she starts remembering what happened, and she gets really ticked off, like really mad, and she blames all of her friends, the Avengers, for what had happened. And then Immortus kidnaps her. And that's when Agatha shows up, and she's like, dude, Immortus is using you, okay? He's using you. He's using you. And the Avengers are gonna come, and they're gonna kill you. The Avengers show up, and Scarlet Witch lets out this huge blast of energy, this huge spell, and the timekeepers show up because they're like, you failed. She did exactly what we were worried she was going to do. You failed. So they absorbed all the energy from the blast she let out, stuffed it into Immortus, and turned him into a battery for their personal use. And then they're like, hey, yeah, Avengers, you can go ahead and take Scarlet Witch. You're good. Bye, guys. See ya. Bye, Aggie. Oh, it's a pleasure. Bye. After all this time, they're telling Immortus that you gotta kill this girl. You gotta kill her. She's bad. It's dangerous. You gotta kill her. They just let her leave. Well, because come to find out, they weren't the timekeepers whole time. They were their evil arch nemesis predecessors, the Time Twisters. I love it. It's so crazy. I love it. Time goes by, years go by, and Wanda is a good guy again. Wanda's a good guy again and regaining her strength, and Vision is starting to show signs of getting his emotions and stuff back. Yay, Vision. Well, even though he's starting to have these feelings for her again, but he realizes he's got to stay away from her because she has a habit of going mental. She can't handle the grief and the guilt of the things she did while she was grief-stricken. She can't handle it. So he chooses to stay away from her. Well, Wanda can't get this stuff out of her head. She can't get the memories out. She misses her children. I mean, can you blame her? Have you had kids? I know they can be buttholes sometimes, but they are shards of your soul. And when they're gone, they're away from you, that you feel that emptiness, that heartache, that sorrow. She's feeling this, and she's a superpowered person. She knows other superpowered people, and she knows there's got to be a way to get them back. There has to be. She's just got to figure it out. She, in her desperation, reaches out to Dr. Victor Von Doom. Dr. Doom. I'm pretty sure that sounds like a bad idea when his name is Dr. Doom. So she reaches out to Dr. Doom, and he's like, hey, I've got this plan. Like, you've got magic superpowers. I've got magic superpowers. We should combine our magic superpowers and tap into the life force and get your babies back. And she's like, okay, cool, let's do it. They do that. She taps into the life force, but it like takes over her, and it mega boosts her power. Like, she was already overpowered. She was already like a crazy powerful being, but with this life force, it made it so much stronger. It's beyond godlike. Well, this not only overpowers her, drives her beyond the point of being overpowered, but it drives her beyond the point of madness as she starts like really thinking. And remember, before she was, ticked off and starting to remember her kids and blaming the Avengers and all her friends for it. Well, she starts acting on that stuff. She starts these series of attacks on the Avengers. She starts attacking the Avengers, like blowing up their mansion, and straight up kills Hawkeye, Ant-Man, and the Vision. She kills all three of them. Just goes, kills them all. Like, well, Doctor Strange finds out where these attacks are coming from and shut her down. He shuts her down before it gets any worse, and here comes her dad, Magneto. He picks her up and takes her to Genosha, to the only person he thinks can help her, Professor X. So him and Professor X try to help, but she's still morphing reality every time she's upset. Like, she'll get upset and start to morph reality and change things. Professor X will be like, hey, knock that shit off. Stop it. And she starts crying and freaking out again, and it's a really bad situation. Well, Quicksilver, her twin brother, is like, I think they're going to try and kill her. Like, I know they're going to try and kill my sister. And he tells his dad, he's like, Dad, the Avengers are going to try and kill her. And his response, because at this point, he doesn't know what to do. And even Professor X can't help her. He's like, maybe they should. And Quicksilver's like, did you just say? That's my sister, man. That is your daughter. Quicksilver thinks fast because he's Quicksilver. And takes off for Wanda. And he's like, hey, you know, with all these abilities you have, I mean, is there something you could do? He starts manipulating. He takes advantage of her weakened mental state and her overpowered state and convinces her to create a reality where mutants are the dominant species and their family, their current family, him, Wanda, their father, they're the ones in charge. And everything in Quicksilver's mind seems okay for a while until Magneto finds out what he was up to. Magneto finds out that it was his son who pretty much made this happen. His son. So Magneto freaks out and starts trying to kill Quicksilver, his own son. He starts trying to kill his own son. Good times. This is House of M, by the way. It's a great story. It's really great. Magneto is trying to kill his own son. And that's when Scarlet Witch shows up and stops him from killing Quicksilver, saves him. And she, you know, lets us all know, the readers, that she blames Magneto and their status as mutants for what's happening, for everything. She blames Magneto and them being mutants for all of their problems. It's so sad. So then she utters the now famous 3 words as she casts this next massive spell. Like, she's gonna put the world back the way it was, the way it should be, with one change. And she says, Daddy. And then the 3 words, no more mutants. And with that, she casts the spell, and about 99% of the mutants become depowered. From there, she disappears. But Hawkeye is back alive, so yay. Like, she brings him back. So after that, she disappears. And, you know, the world's back to the way it was, but there's, like, hardly any mutants left. Wah, wah. Like, that's not what we meant. And from there, we meet up with a young boy named Billy Kaplan, who, he's being bullied for being gay. And every day, or it seems like a lot, he would go to Avengers Mansion and sit and just like, oh, I wish I could be like them. Like, he really wanted to be an Avenger and he really looked up to them. So he would go and he'd sit. Well, one day he actually meets Scarlet Witch. She encourages him to be himself and to not allow that bully to change that about him, and that he should stand up for himself. So he decides, instead of, you know, just standing up for himself and fighting back, that he just wants to avoid this bully altogether. You know, make sure he knows his schedule and stays away from it. And he does, until he sees him bullying someone else. So he steps in. And when he steps in and fights back with this bully, he like shoots him with electricity, and Billy realizes that he has hex magic too. Like, he has superpowers too. He went to go tell the Scarlet Witch what had happened, but by the time he got to the mansion, Avengers Mansion, it was burnt to the ground. It was gone. Nobody was there. He's like, oh my God, what happened? What happened? What happened? Well, he turns around and Iron Lad is there. Remember we were talking about that guy, Immortus? Well, he's a variant of King the Conqueror. And another variant of King the Conqueror is Iron Lad. He's a variant that went back in time when he was younger to try and avoid his future of being Immortus and King the Conqueror. They get together, they become friends. They find Vision's operating program, and in it is a program to find new Avengers. And so they add Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Elijah Bradley, Patriot, Cassie Lang, who becomes Stature, and Teddy Hulkling. Okay, he's part Skrull, and him and Billy date, and Billy changes his name to Wiccan. So Kang shows up to try and make Iron Lad go back to his time, and he's like, I can't right now. And he's like, well, eventually you gotta, because that's just how things go. And they beat him, but he had to return to his right time. I mean, plain and simple, that's the long and the short of it. He had to go back to his own time because it was going to screw up time. It's going to screw it all up. So he had to go back. But he left his suit of armor with the Vision operating system in it and the brain patterns of Iron Lad. And there we get a new, younger, more hip version of Vision. Well, a Super Skrull who had absorbed the powers of the Fantastic Four, because that's what Super Skrulls do, he shows up and he captures Hulkling and tries to take him back. And they were like, well, in order to fight this Skrull, we are going to have to get more help. So they discover this kid named Tommy Shepard, who's in a juvenile detention center, and he moves really, really fast, and he can destabilize matter and make it explode. So like, okay, we want this guy. They go and they get Tommy Shepard, and when they bust him out and they come face to face with him, they realize he looks exactly like Billy. Like, exactly, they could be twins. Well, when they get back to their compound, you know, they meet up with that Super Skrull again. He's like, yeah, he's your brother. You didn't know that? You're twins. Like, she had kids. Oh, Scarlet Witch never had kids. Nope, according to our reports, she totally had kids. And they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. I have a twin brother, and we're the reincarnated children of the Scarlet Witch. They realized what had happened was, when Mephisto was finally destroyed, their souls were set free. And remember, because of all the stuff, all the magic and everything and the connection that they had with the Scarlet Witch, it had transmuted those pieces of Mephisto's soul so much that they became their own thing. Like, that happened. That totally happened. They finally find her in Latveria. with Victor Von Doom. So Von Doom had found her wandering the streets of Transia, where she was from, and that she had amnesia and had no powers or anything. So he takes her to Latveria with him and decides, we're gonna get married. Okay, we're gonna get married. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna get married. It was Magneto, the X-Men, the Avengers, the Young Avengers, they all show up and they escape. They grab Wanda and they escape into the time stream, and they pop out like right before the Avengers mansion is destroyed, like right before it blows up. That's where they pop in. And she was like, oh yeah, this thing that I did. Well, they get there in time to actually save Ant-Man. So Cassie Lang is very excited. She's got her dad back. Good for Cassie. And it wasn't Vision well, that's right, Iron Lad showed up. Iron Lad's the one who showed up and helped and got him into the time stream. My bad. I'm remembering, okay? They get there, and because, you know, she's reliving that day, she's like, oh yeah, I remember everything now. I remember everything. And she takes them back to their appropriate time period. Not Iron Lad, but Wanda. So her powers grow and start to get all crazy again, because that's what happens when you're overpowered in the comic book. And she tries to kill herself. Like she's so grief-stricken and just lost, and guilt and everything all wrapped up into one. And she's got all these powers, and she's like, I just need to die. I just need to end it. Well, Billy steps in and proves to her, shows her that, hey, stop. We're here, Mom. We're your sons. She realizes that she's finally got what she wanted. You know, her kids are back. She's reunited with her children. So she has Doom help her and Billy cast a spell to undo the spell on the mutant and to remove the life force power out of her. Patriot didn't trust Von Doom, which generally speaking, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. And he interrupts the spell, allowing Doom to absorb all of it, like all the stuffs. And the Avengers, X-Men fight Doom while Billy and Wanda work together to remove the force from Doom. And they're successful. They do. They win. Day saved. And now Wanda is finally reunited with the children she accidentally created from a demon soul. So WandaVision did an amazing job of demonstrating, one, the frenemy relationship between Wanda and Agatha. That was beautifully done. They did a beautiful job of finding the heart of all of those stories and pushing them together into one TV show. If you really did pay attention to that whole story, then you should be able to pick up on, you know, the point and heart of all of that, which the point is, you gotta grieve. We've all had loss. I mean, comic books, they're mythologies. They're stories. They're there to help us through things. So the whole point of all of that is that you've got stuff you got to deal with. You got to deal with it, because if you don't, it will deal with you. If you don't handle your grief and whatever's going on in your head and in your heart, it's going to handle you. It's going to come out. It's going to spill all over, and it's going to affect everyone around you. It's going to hurt you and your life and the ones you love. No matter how powerful and tough and strong you are, grief is stronger. And it'll take you down if you're not careful. But I think having the knowledge of the actual comic stories going into watching WandaVision, it really makes the experience that much richer. And there you go, guys. That was the story of the Scarlet Witch and Vision's children, how they came about, the insanity that ensued, and why nerds like me should be super excited for the MCU future, because that means mutants. It means mutants. And forgive Studio Me. Y'all make her nervous and she forgets things and sometimes messes up. So I just wanted to pop in for a second and, oh, yeah, this is my other home. This is my salon. So say hi, Salon Mia. Hi. Hi. So I just want to pop in and mention a couple things that I wanted to mention in the video and got nervous and anxious and, you know, forgot. One of the main reasons I wanted to talk about Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, and the Vision, why my daughter wanted me to talk about WandaVision was, one, yes, they did an absolutely beautiful job of melding that entire story and all those different plot lines into one television series. They did an absolutely stunning job of that. And that, I believe, is reflected in the relationship between Wanda and Agnes and Wanda and the Vision. And, you know, her forgetting, not knowing how they got there, demonstrates her getting her memory erased by Agatha. Also, the characters of Darcy Lewis and Jimmy Woo, I believe, represent us. It was like a little love note to MCU nerds that love sprinkling a little speculation on their MCU meal. We like picking that stuff apart and finding out what do they mean by this. And they did things on purpose just for us to have fun, because the MCU has become very interactive. And that's what I love about it. It's a puzzle. The character of Dottie, they purposely made her a red herring. And I love that. We were supposed to believe that she was Mephisto or Ralph Boner, you know, Pietro. Most of you have siblings, right? A lot of you have siblings. Are you close to them? That was her twin. Pietro was her twin. They were bonded in ways that people who don't have twins, don't have siblings, don't understand. So it is safe to not so much assume, but conclude that Pietro represents her anchor, that he knows her better than anyone else. So if she actually were to look into his actual eyes, everything would come flooding back. Reality would hit her. He grounds her. So I believe that is one of the reasons why they used the X-Men Evan Peters instead of Aaron Taylor Thomas's Pietro from the MCU, because it demonstrated her not wanting to accept what she had done. She couldn't look at it. I mean, have you ever done something, made a horrible mistake? You don't like thinking about it, right? That represented Wanda's guilt and her inability to face reality, face what she had done. And I thought that was just beautifully done. So excellent job with that. But I really feel like, on the whole, WandaVision was a love letter to super fans and MCU nerds like myself, who like to guess and try to figure out what's going on. And if you like doing that as much as I do, then that's what I'm here for. My favorite thing is to compare the TV shows and movies with the source material they're inspired from, and contrast, compare and contrast. And I'll let her get back to it. So Thanks so much for coming today, guys. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm going to try and do one of these every week, and be patient with me. Hopefully I'll just get better and these videos won't be an hour and 15 minutes long. So take care. Thanks so much, and them's the facts.